I always end up putting it is you kind of have to court them. It's nice to build sort of a relationship with them. And I have gone to visit mine so many times that, like, at this point, I bring lunch. So when I call to make an appointment, like, I'll say to the lady on the phone, ask him if he wants Chinese or Italian this time, because we sit and we have lunch. And I mean, it's not a bad thing to do to get comfortable with these guys because we put them into office. They kind of have to listen to what we say, but they don't care what we say unless we're registered to vote, and we vote.
Right.
They can't tell who we voted for, but they can tell if we have voted at all. And if we're not voting, they don't really care what we say because voting is how they keep their jobs and get paid. That simple.
We, as a community and as an industry, can we survive? Can we survive this war against vaping? Because a lot of people think we can't.
I'm going to say, and I said this the other day, I'm not giving up until I'm bathed in the blood of my enemies. Robin said, "Ooh, that's gross."
Wow.
But I am going to fight until until I'm dead.
I thought you were going to say you're not going to give up until you're bathed in your favorite e-juice.
Well, no, because I vape nicotine, and I don't think and I vape high nicotine, so I don't think I want it on my skin for a prolonged amount of time. Let's be clear. We talked about the coal bill, which was and is HR 2058. HR 2058 is languishing in committee. It has not moved in over a year. It's been in the same committee for 14 months. We have indeed added new co-sponsors to that bill, but it has not moved. We still need people, and during this time that we're waiting for the trade groups and the organizers and the CASA and SFATA and AVA and all the different organizations to come out with guidance on the deeming, we need everybody to focus on their legislators. If you live in a state and your people have not signed on as sponsors to HR 2058, then you need to be calling. You need to be writing emails. You need to be sending real physical letters. You need to be knocking on their door, finding out why they haven't signed on to this bill and whether or not they're going to consider signing on to this bill, because at some point they will be, running for re-election. And this is important because HR 2058 can't save us if it doesn't move. As far as the other legislation that can save our asses, that is the amendment, and it's the Cole-Bishop amendment to the appropriations bill. That bill is still also in committee. It has not been voted on yet, and even once it gets out of that committee, it has to go through the House and the Senate before it gets signed by the president. So that bill, even though right now, from what we've been told, the language has not been changed, the amendment can change all from now until the time the president signs it. So right now, yes, we're happy that it's in there, but we have to babysit it. We have to support it, and we have to make sure that some dickhead politician doesn't go behind it and edit it or amend it or change anything in it or make it worse than it already, because it's not perfect. We have to remember that there's some language from HR 2058 in this amendment, the Cole-Bishop amendment, but it is not identical. And there is stuff in there that we still aren't happy with. There's battery requirements and stuff in there, manufacturing regulations for batteries and different things that will, again, change the way that we vape and change the products that are available to us. I don't know how hard it would be or how bad it's going to be because I don't know a lot about batteries when it comes to this, but there are specific requirements for the batteries. So, yes, we need to make sure that bill gets edited or amended in a way that we like and not in a way that we don't like if it changes at all. There is advertising guidelines in that bill also. So yes, we need to, educate ourselves and make sure that we know what it is that we're supporting, just so that when somebody asks us, because somebody today asked something about the coal bill being voted on 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, it is not the coal bill. It is the Cole-Bishop Amendment to the Appropriations Bill. It's very confusing because Representative Cole, supports us. So he's authored, the Cole bill, which is HR 2058, as well as this Cole-Bishop Amendment. So just because it's got the same guy's name in it is not the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
I hope you got it, because I got it. And that was a big misconception and confusion over when that first
HR 2058 is a standalone bill. The Cole-Bishop Amendment is a small amendment to a large appropriations bill. Remember last year when we did the omnibus funding bill for the government?
Yes.
And the language from HR 2058 had been amended into that bill also. But at the last minute, that language was removed. So that the omnibus, the omnibus bill, like this appropriations bill, is a bunch of different packages all included in one thing. If the appropriations bill, appropriations is basically how they're divvying up money. What money is being appropriated for this department and that department and this project and so forth and so on. The Cole-Bishop Amendment is something like that. It is some of the language from HR 2058 included with some other stuff that has been included in a much larger appropriations package. So it is two different things. HR 2058 is a standalone bill that can be voted on all by itself. The appropriations bill or package includes the Cole-Bishop Amendment, but it is not. You can't just vote on the Cole-Bishop Amendment. It's part of a much larger package.
Yes. Another thing I wanted to talk about really quick is some people kind of took what the regulations are and they kind of like put them in a dumbed down type of thing. And there was something interesting out of there. And it says, if you operate a vape shop that mixes or prepares liquid nicotine or nicotine-containing e-liquids, or this is where it gets me, creates or modifies any type of ends, you're considered a tobacco product manufacturer and must comply with all the legal requirements for tobacco product manufacturers.
Yes.
So if are you talking about, like, say I have to redo a coil? Is that modifying the end?
Well, I've been saying this for a long time. Vape shops should not be building coils for anybody.
Yes, you have been.
Because your insurance does not cover you being a manufacturer. I've been saying this for a long time.
Yes, you have been.
You become liable for that product once you do anything to it. So, for example, on a coil, you build a coil, and I've been sitting in a vape shop. I told this story before. I'm sitting in the vape shop, and the vape shop owner knows who I am, but the other people don't know who I am. So I'm sitting there, and this kid, young kid, I'm going to say he was probably 19, 20 years old, comes in and says he wants, and this has been over a year ago. So we do realize that over a year ago, mech mods was the thing. This kid came in with a mech mod.
All the rage.
And told the kid behind the counter that he wanted him to build the coil at 0.05. And the manager immediately turned to me and looked because he knew I was paying attention. And he walked over and said, "Oh, no, we can't build anything below 0.2 because of battery safety issues." Now, I can guarantee you he only did that because I was sitting there.
Yeah, you think he would have built it?
I know he would have built it. I know he would have, because I'm sure this kid has been in there before. Now, there's another practice that I've seen, and this is where a vape shop will buy every e-liquid that he sells in zero. And then he keeps nicotine behind the counter, and somebody will come in and say, I want this e-liquid in a 6, or I want this e-liquid in a 3, or I want it in a 1.5. And he will go behind the counter. He'll open the package and add nicotine to it to make it whatever it is that you wanted. Now, that is a shitty business practice, because when you do calculations for e-liquid, you're going for volume, right?
Really shitty business.
So if you already have 30 mLs and you type in how much nicotine you need for 30 mLs, and you're adding to the volume by adding a couple drops, you're not really getting the nicotine level that the person wanted, because it's actually going to be further diluted, because the calculator takes into account that the 30 mils, some of that is supposed to be the nicotine solution, right. But you're adding enough nicotine solution to make, for example, you're doing a certain amount. It's actually going to be less than. But if you get some kid behind the counter that doesn't know what he's doing, or has shaky hands, or whatever, you could get more than what you're supposed to have, or more than what you wanted. It's a shitty business practice, because it does affect the flavor of the e-liquid. Your nicotine may not be the same nicotine that the original company uses, and it will affect the way it tastes, because if you're using substandard nic or a different quality nic, or some nics you can get a really peppery taste and some you can't, and so forth and so on, you're affecting the flavor of the product. But B, you're bringing onto yourself the legal liability as the manufacturer, because you broke the law in several ways, because you broke the childproof label, the childproof cap. If it's a tamper evident or a child safe or child resistant dripper, you defeated the safe packaging, not the end user. Then you added something to it. You adulterated the product. So then you are legally responsible for that product until it's consumed.
So let me ask you, and I'm gonna say, I'll go around.
And with these new regs, it'll be illegal for you to do that.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard do you think a vaping company, e-liquid company, would be able to get? And I know it's hard to say because we don't know the whole thing, but just on the surface, PMTA, how to get through that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard do you think it's going to be? Knowing that we know how the FDA runs.
It's going to be a 10. If 10 is the most difficult.
Yes.
Let's consider the fact that other than the biggest companies, I'm not going to say all of the companies, but most of these e-liquid companies are not highly educated people. There are some. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that e-liquid people are dummies. But when it comes to how they're going to go through this legal mumbo jumbo, it's going to be really difficult for the average e-liquid person without guidance from somebody. That's why I'm telling everybody that will qualify for that small business advisor to jump on that.
Yeah.
Because they're going to help you. They're going to know what you need to do. They're going to guide you through the process. Now, as far as monetarily, it's going to be a 10 out of 10 for difficulty, just because of how much it's going to cost. But, there are companies that have money. I don't know how many companies are that make, millions of dollars a year in e-liquid, but there's got to be some, because I've seen pictures on Instagram of some of these people, and they're driving super, super, super fancy cars, and they're going on super expensive vacations, because I follow a bunch of these people, so I know what's going on. So some of them are making money.
Some of them are making a lot of money. Yeah.
Right. And you know what? Vape shop, I could say one thing about vape shop owners. They are smart in this. They got into an industry that was new, and a lot of them made some really good money, and it's a shame to see any of the vape shops go under, because we thought we had the solution to what big tobacco has created, the problem that they created. and now it seems like they're gonna. It just feels like they're handing it over back to them. Now,